Let's go to the chopping block and start pounding on this knife and see how it does. Alrighty guys, today we are going to take a look at the Cold Steel Kobun. This is an old Kobun. I've had this Kobun for a very long time, hardly use it because I have no use for a ninja knife. I've seen a lot of people talking about this knife lately, and apparently there's a lot of people who like this knife. I'm going to tell you a couple things I don't like about this knife. I don't like the hollow grind, I don't like the tanto, and I don't like the rubberized handle. I don't like the sheath. I really don't like anything about this knife. So today, what we're going to do is take a look at this knife and apply it to outdoors tasks in the typical fashion which I do. I do some bushcraft stuff, some carving stuff. Purely designed as a tactical self-defense knife unit. Designed to be carried like in your boot or inside the waistband or something like that. It's got a really thin, slim profile. It's really lightweight. This knife's been around for quite some time. Typically this isn't your survival outdoors knife shape, although can work, but I've never used this blade for really anything, and that's what we're gonna do today. Let's go to the chopping block and start pounding on this knife and see how it does. All right, Cold Steel Kobun, Batoning. We're gonna start off real light here, real light. Ooh, that's not comfortable. I said we're going to start off light, but that's not very light. This is a pretty rough piece of wood. This is super uncomfortable. Right off the bat, I mean, that was a really tough piece of wood, but hollow grind's not the best geometry for that. I don't know. That wasn't too bad. Okay. Can it do it? Yes, it can. Is it good at it? No. Is it comfortable? No. If I had to give this a 1 to 10 rating on Batoning, I'd give it like a 4. And we do have some edge jammage right here. So those are the chips I got from just Batoning. Not terrible, but not what you want. So let's move on. Let's try a little tip testing here. It's a good robust tip. It's in there pretty far, farther than you would want to put a tip in and pry with. Just prise that wood right up. No damage to the tip at all. Pretty good tip. Let's see if this thing can feather stick at all. So we got a couple feather sticks here. Some curls anyway, I should say. Let's see if this thing can throw some sparks. It's not a terrible handle, but it's not a great handle. The rubber actually provides some kind of cushion, but it's also really skinny, but it does have this little palm swell here. It's okay. It's okay. The edge isn't the best for doing this, but it works. Maybe like a 5 out of 10 if I had to rate it. It actually strikes the rod pretty good. So let's see how this thing carves. This handle isn't actually that uncomfortable for how skinny it is. So this thing actually isn't too uncomfortable for carving. It's actually better than I thought it would be. Not terrible at carving. This knife is going to struggle getting your rolling cuts. Just doesn't have the shape and the geometry to really get good rolling cuts in. But you get the added benefit of this gouge scraper kind of tip here. This tip is pretty effective at drilling though. This is a tactical ninja knife though, so we do need to see how well she throws. That actually went a lot better than I thought it would. I'll take it. I'll take it. You guys, so the Cold Steel Kobun. This is a pretty affordable knife. Comes in tons of different variations. You've got OD green, you've got coated blades, you've got different steels. What you really have here is a pretty ergonomic and capable blade in a really small package. I really had my doubts on this. I've been sitting and holding on to this knife in my collection for a really long time, and I've never ever really used this thing. And I'm actually really surprised that even with this Tonto blade shape, how well it was able to perform all these outdoor tasks that I put it through. The profile is super thin and slim, making it easy and lightweight to carry around with you anywhere. Throw it in a bag and it's not going to weigh you down. Throw it in your boot, put it in your jacket. It's not really that big of a hindrance to carry this thing. You've got a rubber handle, which I don't like, but it's actually really comfortable for how thin it is. And they do have this nice little palm swell and this grippy texture, which I really like. And this little guard that is enough of a guard, I think, to do its job, but also not too big that it's in your way for any reason. So being that this handle is as thin as it is, I believe they put it together in a really well way, that in such a way that it's not super uncomfortable. Like, it's not the most comfortable knife handle for bushcraft tasks, but at the same time, it's okay. It's okay. So let's talk about batoning real quick. Pretty uncomfortable when you're batoning through hard stuff. The handle, you really feel it in the hand. Geometry, I think, is just too thin and hollow. The hollow grind just makes it not an ideal for batoning, and we did get some chips on the edge. Nothing major, and we can fix that, but going through those tough knots and stuff, it's a lot of hard work for this knife. If you were able to find some nice straight grain pieces of dry wood that were in the smaller diameter size range, this would not have any problem going through that kind of stuff. So for batoning, if I had to give it a rating, I would give it like a 5 out of 10. When we're going to the feather sticks, it's pretty much as you would expect from a V-edge, but I feel like it might be a little better than a typical V-edge. I think this hollow grind really reduces the friction, allowing you to get some pretty decent curls as you're making the feather sticks. And you can get some really thin, fine curls if you want, if you really try. Not the best at feather sticking though, but the handle is pretty comfortable, and you have some different options to put your hands in as you're making the feather sticks, and it was surprisingly comfortable for doing those kind of tasks. My hand didn't fatigue too much, and I felt like I had a good solid grip on this knife the whole time. And then moving on to the Ferro Rod. This thing comes with a really crisp spine. It strikes the Ferro Rod really good. It's good and sharp. No problems there. For your carving tasks, because it is a hollow grind, you have less friction when you're cutting against a piece of wood, and as long as you keep your knife sharp, this is not bad at carving. Push cuts, pull cuts, chest lever grips like this, chest lever grips, all the grips. This handle's surprisingly comfortable for how thin it is. Due to the shape of the Tonto, you're not going to be able to get really good rolling cuts in if that's something that you're going to need to do if you're bushcrafting or something like that. Definitely lacks in that department, but it's okay at carving. It can perform that if you had to force this into like a survival roll or a bushcraft roll or something like that. The sheath's just whatever, it's not that great. I beat the heck out of this thing quite a bit. We weren't razor sharp before, but we were sharp. This being Aus-8 steel, I haven't touched this blade up or anything since we started the testing. Still pretty sharp for Aus-8 steel. I think Cold Steel is pretty good with their heat treat. And yeah, there's really no issues except for those two little nicks that I got on the edge of the blade here. And I can sharpen those out probably in one session of sharpening. This does have a full tang. It kind of ends right here at the bottom, like ½ inch or less. You can feel the handle, the rubber move back and forth. But I mean, the sheath doesn't make any noise. Well, the sheath does make some noise. You can hear that. Has a little rattle, but If this was in your bag, you wouldn't hear that, or if this was snug against your body. Now carrying this, I think you'd have to be pretty sporadic in your movement to get that to rattle. But it does rattle when I shake it. This is actually a pretty good blade shape for EDC tasks, in my opinion. You get a good tip for piercing into things. You get like another dual tip for cutting cardboard and onto flat surfaces. So if you wanted to carry this around as sort of a work knife around the house or whatever it is that you're doing, it wouldn't be a bad knife. If you want like an all-around knife that is really lightweight, you can carry with you anywhere, that kind of can do a little bit of everything, but its main role is light and fast and tactical, then this might be the knife that you're looking for. I would check these out in all the variations, and I would check out the Lynn Thompson version. I can tell you that this thing is very capable. The heat treat is pretty good. It's actually a pretty decent knife. I had made a video before this talking about how I didn't really like this knife at all, and I just bought it and it's just been sitting around, but it actually did way better than I thought it would. It kind of changed my mind a little bit, made me eat my words. So that's the Cold Steel Kobun by Cold Steel. This is the AUS 8 version, and that's gonna wrap up this video, guys, so we will see you next time.